Because of recent events, I finally know who to attribute this stupid idea to. And now, I'm not going to talk about the person themselves, but I will talk about this specific idea. So the idea is, apparently, empathy is a fake thing, and it's some new age term, some hocus pocus that doesn't exist, and what you're feeling is not empathy, but sympathy. No empathy. Okay, so because your main audience was alpha bros, right, and just like people, just that type of demographic, I'll give you an example of empathy that you've probably felt before. Have you ever seen another dude get kicked in the nuts? What you're feeling is what I would call physical empathy, because you didn't get kicked in the nuts, and you did not get kicked in the nuts in that specific manner, but you still felt it. You still felt it, right? That is a form of empathy. Now you might be thinking, well, yeah, I mean, you just proved your own point. Girls don't know what it feels to be kicked in the nuts, right? So girls can't feel empathy. Again, I said that's physical empathy, but right now I'm talking about emotional empathy. How many emotions are there? Okay, there's guilt, excitement, joy, hatred, like feeling of vengeance, right? There's only so many emotions, and I'm sure that unless you're a newborn or you're a psychopath, you felt all of those emotions. In the same way that you didn't get kicked in the nuts in that specific manner, but you still felt it, right? You don't have to know exactly what it feels like to have been kicked at that exact angle, that exact velocity, that exact like force, but you know that would have hurt like a bitch. Empathy is just knowing how someone feels at that point. If someone, you see them, like they stole a cookie, right, versus if they stole $50, or if they robbed the bank, right, and they feel guilty. In both cases, they're still feeling some sort of guilt or some type of remorse or some type of something, right? And you've felt that emotion before because you're human, supposedly. Like, what I'm saying is, empathy is really important because it really helps you feel what it feels like to have been in that person's shoes, right? That's what people say when they say empathy, walk a mile in my shoes. And that's exactly what it is. So when you say that empathy isn't real, empathy is so important, especially in this both the like political landscape and this like type of like hyper, like, I guess, polarized landscape, when you have one group of people completely hating the other group of people, and you don't realize that both ends of the spectrum are both still people, right? Everyone's acting on their own moral compass. It might be a different moral compass, it might be different from yours, but they believe, no one walks around thinking that they are the villain of the story, right? Everyone walks around wanting to be a good person. If you go to a little child and say, hey, like, can you be a helper and help me clean up? They're not going to be like, I don't want to be a helper. They want to help. It's people, in my opinion, right, in my, I guess, optimistic opinion, innately want to be good. They want to be morally like upright. And when you say that empathy is not, like, it doesn't exist, I think that you're 100% wrong. You don't have to have experienced that exact scenario, right? You don't have to have been actually in that place for you to feel empathy, right? For example, as I said before, you maybe, let's say someone, like, their significant other or like some family member passed away, right, or is in the hospital, and they feel really, really sad, they feel really like scared and all those things. I mean, maybe that's never happened to you, but maybe you had like a pet fish die, right? And then you felt also very worried, you felt really sad, you felt a sense of loss. That loss, it's still a similar emotion, and you can use that emotion to feel empathy. That's what empathy is. It's, as long as you've experienced those emotions, then you can feel empathy, right? Like this is a contrast to physical empathy, where women, they don't know exactly what it feels like to have been kicked in the nuts, right? So they can't really feel that type of physical empathy. As I say, I don't even know if physical empathy is a thing, but they don't really feel that. But everyone's felt those. You don't have more emotions than those, what, core like 6-7. That's what empathy is, right? Just you feel this emotion. I have also felt this emotion before. Now let me sit with you, right? Let me sit with you, and like we can go over, we can go through whatever problem you have, whatever like thing you're experiencing. And when you say, oh, but I don't care about empathy because I'm an alpha male, alpha males don't feel empathy. That's for wusses. That's for sissies. I want to go through a book. I want to talk about a book, right? Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I forget if he's an FBI agent or a CIA agent. I think he's CIA, but he was a hostage negotiator. And also, I think he also dealt with bomb threats and terrorists. He was able to settle those cases, to kind of like resolve those cases with basically minimal losses or with no losses, by being empathetic to that person and understanding how that person felt in that situation. In order to feel empathetic, it is, in my opinion, it's actually a superpower. If you're able to put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're negotiating with, then you know, or then you can kind of have a sense of the emotions they're feeling, what things they actually want versus what they're saying, right? Because when you're negotiating with someone, they might be saying they want something, but they actually want something else. Or maybe you can put yourself in their shoes and you can say, okay, if I were in their scenario, well, I'd probably want to do this really quickly because of XYZ. Being able to be empathetic and like kind of putting yourself in that person's shoes is a superhero power. It's a superpower. Okay, sorry, whatever. I'm not gonna edit this, or I'm gonna edit this really little, really few. Not making it any better. I'm not gonna edit this that much because I'm too freaking lazy. But I just want to say, empathy is a really important thing, a really important skill to hone, because it really lets you connect. I really do think it's a superpower. Like when you say they also compared it to sympathy. Sympathy is much more different than empathy. In the case of, what would make you feel better if you felt some like outrage, like if you felt like extreme grief? Would you rather hear someone say, "Aw, you poor thing," or would you rather hear, "I'm so sorry. I know you must be really, really struggling right now, and I've experienced something similar. Just do you want to talk about it? Like, well, what do you want? Do you want to tell me how you're feeling?" One is sympathy. One is like you're above the person, being like, "Oh, you poor thing. That sucks to suck." The other one is, "Damn, I've been there before. I can imagine what it feels like." Right? They're two different things, and like you get two different responses, right? The one is almost like one is almost pity, and the other one is like you actually have someone that's willing to sit there in the dark with you, right? So empathy and sympathy are not the same thing. Empathy is real, sympathy is real, right? I'm not saying, in this video, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just saying like they're both real things, and in my opinion, I think empathy is more effective. And it's not just for little sissies and or whatever, because as I said before, it's used by FBI, CIA, dealing with terrorists, dealing with bomb threats, dealing with hostage negotiation, right? So empathy, it's a skill. Level it up.